Just give it a couple of more seconds for people to join in. Uh, Good afternoon to everyone, and hello. Welcome to our information session today for mental health and addictions. My name is Mushar Chaudhry, and I'm the manager of recruitment and sales for the Chang School. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. I thank the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island for their efforts to protect the land, and I deeply regret the past injustices they've endured. As Toronto Metropolitan University seeks to move forward in partnership with Indigenous peoples, I pledge to foster an environment that is more inclusive and welcoming of Indigenous peoples from all communities. Now I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You can submit your questions for our speaker at any time by typing them into the question box in your control panel, and we'll collect them throughout the session and address them at the end of the presentation. Now, before I invite our guest speaker to do a quick overview, I'd like to run a poll with everyone to get things started. So this is the poll that we wanted to run. What motivated you to consider this certificate? So if you can quickly take a couple of seconds and answer. We have a few options there: career advancement, career change, skill building for current role, personal interest, and others. So we'll leave that on for just a couple of more seconds and then share the results back with you all. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking part in the poll. As you can see, career advancement and career change are the highest ones. It's pretty consistent with our other info sessions as well. So thank you for taking part in it. It really helps us provide some feedback to the team. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today, Dr. Margaret Molson, Associate Professor at TMU and Academic Coordinator at the Chang School for this certificate. She's going to share a quick overview on the certificate and how it can help you develop the skills you need to learn more about the certificate. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. I hope everybody is having a good day so far. So yes, I'm just going to present very briefly a little bit of information about the certificate, and then we open it for questions. So the Mental Health and Addiction Certificate is an online certificate. And it requires 10 courses to be completed to receive the certificate. The length of the program ranges, so there's a lot of flexibility with how long you can take to complete this certificate, ranging from 1 year at the minimum to 6 years at the maximum. I would say that most of our students complete it. It take longer than 1 year to complete it. And the cost would be between $5,700 and $5,800 for the entire certificate program. Next slide. Okay, so I saw from the poll that many of you are potentially interested in the certificate for career advancement or potentially for career change. And that's often the students that are in this certificate program are taking it for those reasons. So sometimes folks register in the certificate because they're ready to pivot into the mental health and addictions area. And so you're looking for a new career path, and maybe you have some psychology background or you don't have a psychology background yet, but this is where you want to pivot to. And so this certificate is appropriate for those folks. And then there are people who are already working in a related field who want to specialize more. And so you want to specialize further in mental health and addictions for career advancement purposes if you're already kind of in the general area. Potentially you're someone who's working in the field. You don't necessarily working in across sectors. You don't necessarily work in mental health and addictions, but you maybe work in a client facing role, or you're maybe a supervisor of a team, and you want to have increased background knowledge about mental health and addictions to be more effective in your current role. We have some students who take the certificate for that. And then finally, we do have undergraduate students, so students who are completing an undergraduate degree, and they want to apply these courses because these are degree credit courses. And so you apply these courses towards your degree, or you're interested in strengthening your application for graduate school or further training. So next slide, please, Randall. Okay, by completing this certificate, you will get exposed to the core principles of psychology. So it is a 10 course certificate program. So it's quite a large certificate. So you will have exposure to fundamental psychological knowledge through our introductory courses, fundamental knowledge in, of course, mental health, psychological disorders, and addictions. But you'll also have the opportunity to learn about other areas of psychology that touch on mental health and addictions. So, for example, child psychology, social psychology, psychology and law, community psychology. So it really provides a knowledge in psychology that is targeted towards mental health and addictions, but does provide a well-rounded understanding of psychology in general. You'll gain skills through this program, so skills in research analysis, skills in research methods, and professional writing and communication as well. Next slide. So this is an academic, theoretical, and research-based orientation. This certificate has that academic orientation. Again, these are all of the courses available in the certificate are degree credit courses that our own undergraduate students in psychology can take. So they are theoretically based, research based, but of course they also touch on all of these applied topics, right? So you'll get a strong overview and a strong foundation in psychological disorders, mental health, and addictions, of course. And the program does prepare students. So a lot of our students are interested in pursuing further study in psychology, so counseling psychology or clinical psychology or social work, and it will prepare you for that additional applied study going forward. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of the requirements, as I mentioned, there are 10 courses that make up this certificate. 4 of those courses are required. So all students are required to take Introduction to Psychology 1, Introduction to Psychology 2, Psychological Disorders, and the Psychology of Addiction. So those 4 courses are required. And then you're required to take 6 elective courses. Our elective courses for this certificate are broken up into 2 groups. So Group A, there are 3 courses in Group A, and you have to take at least 2 of those 3 courses. So you can take 2 courses from Group A, or you can take 3 courses from Group A. And so those courses in Group A are biological psychology, clinical psychology, and drugs and human behavior. So these are more advanced courses in mental health and addictions. And then our Group B electives, you have to take either 3 or 4 of these electives, depending on how many electives you took from Group A. And these are the courses that are more in other areas of psychology that are related to mental health and addictions. So here we have child psychology, health psychology, psychology of immigration, human sexuality, sleep, community psychology. So there's a number of courses. I think there are 10 courses in the Group B electives, of which you have to choose 3 or 4 to take. And those are the courses that make up the certificate. And so that's the end of the formal presentation part. But now I think we open up things for questions. So Masher, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Margaret. That was a nice, comprehensive overview of the certificate for all of our learners. We've got a few questions that are in already. First question is from Carrie Thompson. Thank you for your question, Carrie. Says the course description says there are opportunities to participate in research, but it does not have a course devoted to it like the psychology certificate does. how would you get involved in research work for this certificate?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Carrie. Yeah, so there isn't a particular course that is designed to give a specific research experience, like, as you mentioned, the psychology certificate, which has that independent study. Within the courses that you're taking, there are opportunities for research. So many of the assignments, for example, will be research-based assignments. So they will be things like reviewing the literature, writing a research proposal, doing research on particular interventions that exist for mental health, various mental health concerns, or for addictions. And so the research that you'd be exposed to is really sort of within the courses themselves through the various assessments.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Okay, next question is what type of roles do graduates typically pursue after completing the certificate?
Yeah, great question. So many students in this particular certificate are interested in further training. So these are the students in the certificate are potentially interested in applying to counseling psychology programs or clinical psychology programs or a master's of social work. So we have a number of students that are doing this mental health and addiction certificate to either sort of boost up their application. So maybe they did an undergraduate degree in psychology, but they want to take more courses that are relevant and are going to prepare them better for those fields within psychology, or they're coming from different fields, and so they want to get more exposure to these areas of psychology to strengthen their applications. But in terms of other roles, so that's one segment of our students, but there are other students who are interested in client-facing roles with community organizations, for example. So roles that some of our students end up in are things like being a child and youth worker, being a mental health and addictions counselor through a community organization, a mental health advocate. So these are the kinds of roles, or some of the roles anyway, that our certificate students end up in.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to the next question. Specific academic or professional prerequisites, are there any for this certificate?
So, from my understanding, the recommended for admission is your Ontario Secondary School Diploma or equivalent with six grade 12 either U courses, 12U courses, or 12M courses, or having mature student status with at least 3 years of professional experience in business, community service, or industry. So you do not have to have, a background in psychology, for example, at the university level to register in this certificate. It is available for students who have a high school background or who have relevant professional experience.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions regarding applications, we'll give our contact information after the end of the info session, and you can contact me directly, and we can discuss that as well. So, can credits from this certificate be applied towards degree programs at TMU, example, social work, psychology, or nursing?
Yes, so these courses are degree credit courses, and so they can be applied to undergraduate degree programs at TMU.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good plus point, I think, for our courses here that you
Yeah.
can always take them and apply them towards degree credits at TMU. Okay, next question is from Madeline. Thank you for your question, Madeline. The question is, I'm in the certificate already, but wanted to learn more. My main challenge is that a lot of the courses appear to only be offered in spring, summer, but many students choose to work full time during those months. Do you think course scheduling will change to be offered more in fall, winter terms?
Thanks so much for that question, Madeline. Um, from so we do have more courses offered in the spring summer term, and that's to cater to the professionals who are, who work throughout the year, and or to sometimes to students who are in an undergrad program who have full course loads in fall and winter and then take these courses in the spring, summer. But many of the courses, so I was looking through all of the courses that are required for the certificate. Well, the elective courses aren't required, but looking at when they were offered, most of the courses from that I'm aware of, at least, not all, but most of the courses are offered in at least two out of the three terms per year. So usually in the spring, summer, you're correct, but usually also in at least either the fall or the winter term. And so I think there are a small number of courses that might only be offered in the spring, summer. The sleep course, for example, I believe is only offered in the spring, summer semester. But I believe the other courses are offered at least in either the fall or the winter. So if you're having problem with scheduling, that is certainly something to reach out to like the academic and career advisor folks, I think. Would that be right, Mashur? That they would be able to kind of help with kind of scheduling and planning, because we do make some adjustments year to year, but most of the time the courses that remain quite similar from year to year in terms of what semesters they're offered in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the academic and career advisor, and Dave, feel free to jump in here. They can help with advising, but the schedules they would stay, like you said, right? Like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question is the certificate geared towards clinical roles rather than community mental health ones? It's from Nicole. Thank you for your question, Nicole.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. I would say that it's geared to both, actually. So I know that we have students completing the certificate who are in community type roles, or who are interested in those kinds of roles, rather than going sort of into a clinical psychology kind of more academic route. This would be appropriate for getting exposure to the at least psychological perspectives on mental health and addictions, but that would be useful in community-based roles as well. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I know you touched on this a little bit earlier as well,
Mhm.
but I think we have another question regarding, what jobs are you qualified to have with this certificate?
Yeah. So one thing to make clear is that this certificate isn't the equivalent of something like a master's of social work or a clinical psychology degree or a counseling psychology degree, where you get to put letters after your name, right? Where you're now a MSW or a PhD in clinical psychology or that kind of thing. So this certificate's not equivalent to that, but it certainly provides preparation for the types of roles that for either future training in those areas, or for roles that draw on knowledge of mental health and addiction. So working in the community, working with community, or as a within a community organization, as a mental health and addictions counselor, as a youth support worker. This is good preparation for those types of roles as well.
Would you recommend maybe volunteering in any roles that can get people into the space?
Um, so I'm not quite sure what I understand what you mean.
Like, are there like volunteer roles that they could, start with just to understand what the space is like and what the roles are like in the community?
Right. Yeah. So that's a good question. So I'm less familiar with community organizations and the roles available there, because I'm in the academic world. But I know many of our psychology undergraduate students go this route as well. So they end up working with community organizations as youth support workers, as mental health and addictions counselors, or getting on that path. And so there are. I can't point to sort of specific organizations to kind of volunteer at, or to point to, but I know that there are, through throughout Toronto and the GTA more broadly, there are a lot of these organizations that work with disadvantaged youth in the community, like newcomers to Canada that might need support. Like these are the types of organizations where they might need additional support. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, next question is how often are courses updated to reflect new research, legislation, or best practices in the field?
Great question. So the majority of our courses, well, all of our courses are online. The majority of courses are developed as full distance education courses. So primarily asynchronous learning. And those courses, there are a few courses, sorry, stepping back, there are a small number of courses that are still sort of live virtual lecture based courses, but the majority of our courses are fully asynchronous or primarily asynchronous. And I, I want to say that these get updated um, revised on a 3-year cycle potentially. I am not 100% sure about that. I'm newer in this role, and so I'm still learning all of the ins and outs, but they are updated so once they're developed, so actually many of our courses have been developed as these fully asynchronous courses within the past 2 to 3 years. So their content is already very updated. And then they start into a cycle of being updated on a semi-regular basis. So I think it's a 3-year cycle, but I don't quote me on that. That might not be quite right. Yeah.
That's okay. That's totally fine. And we can definitely take that away and confirm. So if you
Yeah.
email me and
Yeah.
we can do that. Okay, so next one is, are there any applied components like case studies, simulations, placements, or projects, or opportunities to work with the real case scenarios?
Great question. There are no specific courses that are sort of practicum courses or anything like that as part of the certificate. These courses are primarily sort of academic based courses. But within some of the courses, there are likely there's likely work assignments and this kind of thing that are more applied, that do require sort of analysis of current organizations or current therapies or like this current policies surrounding the treatment of addictions and this kind of thing. And that would be true especially in courses like um, community psychology, for example, psychology of immigration, and these courses. So the courses are, they're academic in nature and research based in nature, but they have these applied elements as well. But they are, you know, academic courses, and it would be through these kinds of assignments that you'd be learning about the more applied aspects of psychology, not through, say, a practicum.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you answered the next question here as well, which is what type of assessments are used, exams, essays, case studies, group work, or reflective journals? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so those I think are all used across the various courses. So you that's a those are used frequently. There are, I would say, across all of these courses, there are tests or exams. So those are a common element across all of the psychology courses in this certificate. But then the sort of out of class, work or out of the test, beyond the tests, the assessments would look different. So you usually there are writing components. So all of the classes will have some sort of writing component, but what that writing component looks like might be different. Because they are asynchronous online classes as well, there are usually discussion boards where there are opportunities for like weekly interaction with the instructor, with the other members of the course, and this kind of thing, where you're getting not synchronous, but you're getting asynchronous interaction with the other people in the course. Through discussion boards, analyzing case studies, like those sorts of things, would are used in the courses consistently.
Awesome. Now, one question that came a little time ago. I just wanted to run that with you as well. I know Dave had provided an answer. For someone who's applying to grad school, right? Is there anything,
Mhm.
any resources that we provide or help with, like, maybe letters of recommendation or things like that?
So not specifically through I don't believe the uh, Chang School, like the academic coordinators would not necessarily provide reference letters, but it's very possible that that the instructors of the course could be
Yeah.
a good resource for reference letters. This is what I would tell students in our undergraduate psychology program too, that, forming relationships with your professors, is beneficial in a number of different ways. But one of those ways is potentially being able to call on them, and request a letter of reference for applications to graduate school. Yeah, so I think it would be not through sort of centrally through the Cheng School, but through relationships that you develop with your professors of the various courses.
Awesome. And then how does the program incorporate ongoing changes in mental health legislation or drug policy?
Great question. And so again, I think that the we try and keep our courses updated, and they are updated on a rolling basis. But that those sorts of things would be potentially, targets of, discussion board postings, or targets of a particular assignment where maybe a new piece of legislation has come in, and students are asked to reflect on it, or students are asked to evaluate it, or this sort of thing. And so it would be basically through the coursework, that you would gain exposure to changes in various policies that impact work in mental health, work in addictions.
Okay. Um, Moving on to the next one. Is it possible to use this program as a stepping stone to any other master's programs?
So it certainly is the case that many of the students who are in the certificate program are planning to pursue further education. It's not a direct pathway, so it's not the case that if you complete this certificate, then you're automatically sort of prepared for doing a master's at TMU or another institution. But it certainly provides an excellent foundation for students who are interested in pursuing counseling psych, clinical psych, social masters of social work, and those sorts of career directions. This provides an excellent foundation.
Okay, thank you so much, Margaret. You went and answered like over 20 questions from all of our
No,
attendees.
great.
So thank you for doing that. There are no more open questions right now. We'll give it another minute or so to see if there are any. But is there anything else you'd like to add as like a last comment or anything?
I just wanted to add that if you do, after the session, you have a burning question that you didn't get a chance to ask during it. You can absolutely, and I'm sure you'll share this information about contacting us, but we're happy to field questions for students about. That are potentially interested in the certificate but need a little bit more information. So, and if I'm not the right person to answer your question, if it's something about admissions or something that I don't know about, I can always direct you to the right spot. So please feel free to reach out to me, or to other folks at the Chang School for additional information afterwards.
Great. Well, yeah, okay, so there's a question about scholarships or awards. I think one of our advisors can answer that. But at this
Mhm.
time, because we don't have any open questions on the content, we will have one more poll that we'd like to run. And we just want to know, how did we do? How likely are you to take a course from this certificate? This will also help us provide feedback in to our follow-up team who is going to reach out to you after the session is over to see, if you have any other questions or if you need any help with enrolling into the courses or anything else at all. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we've got some people that are very likely to take a course, and some are somewhat likely, which is normal. Thank you for taking part in that poll. Yeah, I just want to say this was a really great session. Thank you for attending, everyone. At this time, I'll do my closing remarks where, Margaret, I want to thank you for giving us a quick overview and answering all of our questions. Thanks to all of our attendees for taking a time out during your lunch hour to attend our info session today. If you're interested in learning more about the certificate, you can visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. And if you have any other questions, please contact us at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. You will receive a follow-up email with the recording of this session and contact information. And on behalf of the Chang School and our presenters and guest speakers, thank you for joining us today.